Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of PowerCore Productions' own Marvel What If. We are Season 1, Episode 2. What if Reed Richards was Iron Man? Yes, peer into the looking glass, into the world of the Marvel Universe, where time and concepts, they are illusions, fantasy, and reality. The world that you are about to witness is a world where another scientist was taken captive in the mountains of Afghanistan, and through his genius and intellect, he revolutionizes the world with ARC technology. But what happens when someone else beats famed Tony Stark to the punch? How will the balance of power shift in favor of Richards and Stark? How will Marvel's first family fare into this new world when their powers are reimagined through science, technology, and ingenuity? For all this and more, stay tuned as we now begin. PowerCore presents Marvel What If? Season 1, Episode 2. What if Reed Richards was Iron Man? As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In the year 2008, while flying over Afghanistan in his private jet, looking to attend a summit meeting, Reed Richards found his plane being shot down by active terrorist cell of the Ten Rings. The scientist was taken captive along with others, forced into harsh labor to build them weapons. Why? The terrorists in the area were in active competition against another subgroup, a group using weapons created by famed weapons expert and inventor Tony Stark and Stark Industries. However, a famed scientist, older in age by the name of Dr. Yinsen, helped Reed Richards in his escape in order to get him out of the war-torn area. The two of them would be working on a different contraption, a suit of armor powered by revolutionary technology known as the ARC reactor. However, tragically, in his daring escape, Dr. Yinsen would be killed. However, now free, Reed Richards, enveloped in his suit of armor, would battle against his captors. After getting hold of communications, would send a distress signal and would have him and other prisoners rescued. After his return to the States, Richards would bring his ARC technology to the forefront of the modern world, with clean, sustainable energy being provided to all, in contrast to the competitor, Stark Industries, who profiteered in warmongering and in weapons. The industries created by Reed Richards, supported by his lovely friends and family, his wife, Susan Richards, who shortly married him after his return, his childhood friend, Ben Grimm, and his brother-in-law, Johnny Storm. All four would be given especially made armors, and collectively would be known as the Fantastic Four. At the helm, Reed Richards, in his own standardized Iron Man uniform, followed by Susan Richards as the Iron Woman in her stealth suit armor, a specially made armor that not only has the same capabilities as the other suits, but also has cloaking and state-of-the-art stealth technology, allowing for her invisibility and the creation of various force fields and shields. Next, Ben Grimm's, wearing an especially made Iron Buster armor, and his code name, the Iron Thing. This suit is made for exceptional strength and durability, for heavy-duty lifting, and for getting you out of a pinch with a clobbering iron fist. And of course, the heartthrob of many, the sensational Johnny Storm, aka the Iron Torch, a specially made Iron Man suit that's built with exceptional firepower and sometimes emits a powerful blue flame in the exhaust. This suit is capable of going toe-to-toe with many powerful beings, outputting firepower so great you'd think you're looking at a blue sun. Together, these four are known as the Fantastic Four, all powered by various ironclad suits. However, they don't just go out and fight crime, saving the day from disaster and things alike. They are also explorers, adventurers, pioneers for a new day and age in technology. After 2 years, the Fantastic Four would grow in popularity. Many people saw them as celebrities. They saw them as heroes, friends of the family. They gave off a warm and inviting personality. From the contributions of the Baxter Foundation, from giving out scholarships, having arc reactors smaller and safer in stature, being placed in key locations all throughout the city to give clean, affordable, and inexpensive energy to all those in need. In the eyes of the public, Richards was building very good faith, and it even won 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, as well as being pioneered and championed as the man who would bring peace to the future. But of course, there was also someone else. Another famed inventor, ingenious mind and intellect, but he was not looked upon as favorably. The genius, playboy, billionaire, and sometimes philanthropist, Tony Stark, the current head of Stark Industries. If Reed was the angel, then Stark, well, you could say he was the devil himself. Of course, while many in the public condoned him for his manufacturing of more powerful and dangerous weapons that were being used in the Middle East and by various groups all across the world, he still had a good standing with the U.S. military complex. But even they were starting to become a bit underwhelmed. As Stark looked out from Stark Tower to the other Baxter building, the two mirroring each other in a way. Obadiah would be standing at the desk looking at the headlines. "Geez, Tony. Looks like someone beat you to the punch." "He didn't beat me to anything. Whatever he's contracted, it's inferior." "Are you sure?" "Subject says that this is the real deal." "You know, I always figured that if anyone was going to be able to build the arc reactor, it would be you. It was something your father and I talked about endlessly. He always said that it wouldn't be accomplished in his time, but that you would be able to do it in yours." "And what's that supposed to mean, Obadiah? You telling me that I'm not good enough? That I'm not cutting it anymore? We just hit record profits. Yes, we did. But public perception is still a thing. After all, that little stunt you tried to cause 2 years ago didn't really go in your favor now, did it? You thought that you could kill the competition with one push of a button, but that didn't work out too well now for you, did it?" Tony turned back to Obadiah, his eyebrow raised at the older man that had taken him in after the death of his parents. "Are you trying to say he's better than me, Obadiah? Is that it? You want to jump ship, huh? There's the door, right there. Why don't you go waltzing into the Baxter building? Find yourself another golden goose. Now, Tony, I didn't. No, you've made it very clear. You've made it perfectly clear. They go parading around like a bunch of blue and gray, silver-coated jackasses. And you think that I'm supposed to care about that? Building the arc reactor is like nothing. I can do it in my sleep. And it'll be way better than whatever they've got. Yeah, I believe you. But I also believe that if things continue on like this, the people aren't going to be on your side. Who cares about the people? All right? The same people who talk about me in the news, who judge me every chance they get. They call me the Merchant of Death. I'm the Merchant of Death? No, I am the one who brings peace. They're just a bunch of idiots. Idiots dancing around pretending to be heroes. But when the chips are down, when it's all said and done, I'm the one. I am the one who will protect everyone. And I won't get praise. I won't get thanks. No, I'll be judged. But you know what's funny? They never judged my father. He was more of a war profiteer than I ever was. The Great War. Even had a hand in destroying Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But do they ever bring that up? No. Because he ran around with Mr. Red, White, and Blue. They were all a bunch of chumps. If they knew what their precious Boy Scout used to do back in the day, do you really think they'd be singing his praises? Buying his comic books? Let's be for real. We're all killers. We're all murderers. We're all condemned. But the only thing that matters is who looks cool on a cereal box and shows up for the Tonight Show. For Tony, things needed to change. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four were having great success. They had even taken a space mission not too long ago. Thanks to their newly reinforced iron suits, when the ship got hit by cosmic rays, they weren't affected, thankfully. Yeah, could have been bad, Johnny said. Who knows what would have happened to old Ben Boy here? He probably would have turned into some ugly-looking thing. I mean, he's already the Iron Thing. Do you want me to clobber you, kid? No, I meant no disrespect. We all know you're good looking under that shell, head boy. Still, we have had a lot of good fortune, Susan said. And it's all thanks to you. Though, I'm just glad that you're home. I appreciate it. I know that you all were looking for me. It didn't make it easy. Still, every day that I was trapped in that cave, I always knew that I'd come back to my family one way or another. I just wish I could have helped more. Susan would place her hand on Reed's. Dr. Yinsen would be proud of you. Proud of what you've accomplished, what you've done. It's not on my own. The arc reactor, it's something that I didn't even think was possible in the beginning. But in a life or death situation, I guess you figure out what is and what isn't possible. Still, there's a lot more that we need to do. How are efforts going over in the Middle East? Ben would turn to a monitor to show what was going on. Most of the organization that you described to us, known as the Ten Rings, a lot of their splinter cells and a lot of their hideouts have been hit. For the most part, they're all running in the wind. Though they're like rats and cockroaches, they'll just scurry to the darkest parts of the earth and wait to make their move. That's a start. But I want to make sure we can shed some light in all those areas. I don't want to just send them into some sort of remission. I want to take them out for good. I still can't believe it. After everything that's happened, Stark still continues to make weapons to fund these wars? It's just how he is, dear. I have no reason to judge the man. Everyone's intellect, their minds, they're free to use them as they see fit. Still, I would have always have hoped that maybe he could have found a better path. Yeah, a better path. The guy's just a glorified arms dealer, Johnny said. Only reason why he's not treated like a criminal is because he's being backed by the government. Even if that is the case, he hasn't broken any laws. We have no reason to go after him. What are you talking about? Ben would say. The only reason why you were in that mess is because his stupid Jericho missile blew up your plane. And I don't think it was a coincidence. What do you mean, dear? Do you really think that of all things, Stark's weapons are found in the area where your plane was destroyed? Not to mention that you were taken in by the rival group that was fighting against those who were using Stark's weapons. I've pondered the thought, though I have no reason to think that he'd go that far just to take me out. As much as he may hate me, I don't think he'd stoop so low just to try to win some contest of minds. Still, I've been looking into it, and Stark and the Ten Rings, they've seemed to appear in a lot of places together. I just don't think it's a coincidence. The doorbell would ring for their loft. Inside would walk their assistant, Pepper Potts. She would alert them to some news that Reed was being invited to a dinner with Tony. As for Susan, she had some business to take care of in London, so she'd be taking the family jet. Ben would be staying home with the robot help, Herbie, as he had some maintenance and other things he wanted to take care of also. And for Johnny, well, despite only being 25 years old, he had the hots for the new secretary of the home, Miss Pepper Potts, 32 years old, although his romantic gestures had been rebuffed at every turn, noting that he was a little young for her. But today, almost as if by fate, she was giving him a chance. Johnny had shot his shot for the 100th time, and while he was optimistic, he expected it to miss. But she agreed. Wait, hold on, you're saying yes? You're saying yes, Susan would say. Well, my date canceled on me, Pepper said, and I've got nothing to do tonight. So, if you want to show me a good time, I'm all for it. Oh, Pepper, I'm sorry. It's okay, Susan. It's just something I've come to expect. I mean, he is persistent after all. That doesn't mean that you have to go out with him. Shush, Johnny said to his sister. She's just finally realizing how much of a catch I am. I'll pick you up at 6. I'll be waiting. Oh, yes! Let's go! All right. I don't know what you have me scheduled to do. You can cancel it. That's not going to happen. I'm taking Pepper Potts out. I want to try that French restaurant downtown. He seems excited, Susan would say. If it gets him out of the house, Reed said. But who's this meeting with? Let's see. Meeting is with Tony Stark. Why would he want to see you? Who knows? But perhaps it's something important. After all, he wouldn't just call me out of nowhere. I can go with you. I'm pretty sure I can reschedule. No need to do that. Reed swooped his loving wife into his arms. You have a lot to do over in London. I've already got your suit stashed away on the plane just in case anything happens and you need it. But just give me a call. I'll be over there in a heartbeat. I'm a big girl. I can take care of myself. Though, it's good to know that I've always got Iron Man on speed dial. The two would make a few faces at one another while Ben simply rolled his eyes. I'll be working down in the garage. I figure I'll do some lasagna tonight. Herb, Get the ingredients prepped up. We're gonna eat some and enjoy the Giants game. Everyone would be going about their routines. Reed was getting ready for his meeting with Stark, Susan boarding the family plane, Johnny getting ready to take out his date for the evening, and Ben working in the Baxter building. It would be around 6:15 as Reed would arrive to the conference hall in uptown New York. There, he would be let in as Tony would be waiting in a conference room devoid of anyone else. You wanted to see me, Stark? I did. You know, we never really had a chance to speak after your rescue. I wanted to hear a lot about it. That's what you called me all the way here for? No, not just that. A lot more, really. I'm in the process of working on something big, but I think I might need your help. My help. A hologram would appear in the middle of the conference room. That, the country of Latveria, currently has no real ruler. There's a small governing body, but it's more so in name only. You could say it's really the backwater of the world. And why exactly are you showing me this? Tell me, what do you think about magic? Magic. You brought me all the way here to talk about magic. Just humor me. Come on, Richards. Okay. I'd like to think that the idea of magic, the mystic arts, or anything of that nature is nothing more but a science that we simply do not understand. After all, you know the basics. Power cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. You see, that's the thing. I think that there's more to it than meets the eye. I think that there's another element that we are not looking at here. An element that can change the game. And what exactly is your point in all of this? My point, I think you and I should work together. There's rumors to be artifacts that if you could get your hands on them, you could change the way of the world. Artifacts. You've heard about the Tesseract, haven't you? I've read some reports about it, although they were classified. Couldn't really get the full details. But from what I know of it, it was pretty significant. It was said that your father found it. He found it, and then he handed it over to the government. You know, I've heard a lot of reports, a lot of stories. They say that the Tesseract was the gateway to other worlds. You think that's true? I think a lot of stuff from back then are more so fairy tale than anything else. But there's always a possibility, right? Maybe. What are you getting at? What I'm saying is, with that, and with the arc reactor, you could say we could both become pretty powerful. Maybe. Why would we need all of that power? Simple. I think that something is coming. Something is coming. Look, I've had these dreams, all right? I don't know how to explain it, but I've seen things. In my dreams, I've seen the world destroyed. Now look, I know it sounds crazy, and I know you've got no reason to trust me, but believe me, something is coming for all of us. And I think it's time that we put our petty beef aside and we do what needs to be done. What exactly do we need to do? What do I have to spell it out for you? Why are we settling, Richards? Think about it. The U.S. government, it's ran by a couple of kooks that don't know what they're doing, along with any other country out there in the world. They've got their hands on the Tesseract. Do you think they're doing anything with it? They've only scratched the surface of what it's capable of. Technically speaking, it's my birthright. Your birthright. Yes, the Tesseract should have stayed in the family of the Starks. Now, I know that you are a man of principle, but I could really use your help. And look, I'm just going to stop you right here. If you're thinking about trying to steal or get it back, assuming that it even exists, you're talking to the wrong guy. What about the arc reactor? Would you be willing to let me know, Tony? You know I have the original blueprints, right? I met a guy in Russia. Well, Siberia, technically. The guy was an outcast, but somehow his father and my father have been working together. And because of their collaboration, they actually had the prototype for the original arc reactor created. Of course, they never got around to completing it, but I think what you have right now is the prototype. The prototype for what's really to come. And I've got the blueprints to take it to the next level. If you work with me, I work with you. We can create something truly unstoppable. A whole new element. Listen, Richards, I'm saying that no, that's not going to happen. I'm not working with you. I'm not stealing anything. We're not making a weapon. You're not seeing the picture, Richards. Don't you know I do? I have firm belief that there is other life out there, Tony. And I have firm belief that we will encounter them at some point. But I am not going to build weapons of mass destruction. Oh, here we go. You have to play the holier-than-thou card about weapons. Seriously, what do you think you and your creepy family are flying around in, huh? You calling those instruments of peace? I know that we can use them for violent measures, but still, no, you dumb hypocrite. You're flying around in a glorified weapon. Glorified weapons, that is what they are. And look, I'm just being nice about it, okay? But I have friends in high places. And the word is, there are people that don't feel too comfortable with the Fantastic Four existing in the world. Weapons like yours, whether you want to call them weapons or not, that's what they are. You think there are governments that are already trying to figure out what you made? Huh? I'm the one that's actually watching your back. I have actually destroyed a few facilities off in other worlds that have been trying to replicate what you did. Because it's going to be bad for both of us. We need to get ahead of this. There is no we, Tony. There is no we. There's no you or I. There's never going to be. All right? There is no Tesseract stealing. You will not get my arc reactor. If you build your own, good for you. But let me say this right now. If you step out of line, if you do if I step out of line, that's right. If you step out of line, what are you going to do about it? Huh? I look at you, and I don't see anything special. What's so great about Reed Richards? That's your problem, Tony. No, that's your problem, Tony. It's always been your problem. You think there's some competition between the both of us? There never has been. You and I, we are forward thinkers, futurists. We push forward for the betterment of humanity, for ourselves. Because you've never thought about it, huh? You never once thought to yourself about what you could do? You really want me to believe you've never asked yourself why not? I struggle with those thoughts every day. Sure, I think about it. Who doesn't? You could say it's the curse of a mind like ours. But there are certain lines I won't cross. I will never cross. Never say never. An explosion will happen far off in the distance, close to the Baxter building. What the hell? Excuse me, I need to... No, I don't think you do. 2 guards rushed into the room holding their guns, trained on Reed. Tony, what the hell is going on? I wanted to get you to see reason. Believe me, I did. I didn't want to go this far. But you have left me no choice. Reed would reach for his phone, immediately calling out for Susan. However, the moment she picked up, another explosion would happen on the phone. Sue! Sue! There's a lot that you can accomplish when you have the U.S. military in your pocket. You update some of their fighter jets, use some specially made cloaking technology, and even your receptors won't see them coming. What the hell have you done? You bastard! Reed was about to grab him, only for his guards to hold him down. I only needed one of you. Thankfully enough, your friend was dumb enough to go out on a date. I have some friends. Aldrich Killian, ring a bell? He came up with this nifty little thing called Extremis. I made a few tweaks to the formula, but you can make some powerful soldiers with that. Some soldiers that are paying a visit to your building right now. Meanwhile, on the date between Johnny and Pepper, the 2 of them had been enjoying their evening until suddenly the restaurant would be invaded. Johnny would immediately use a specially made mini arc reactor gauntlet hand, attempting to fend them off, but he was quickly captured. As Reed fell to his knees, he realized the truth. Susan's plane had been destroyed. Ben, likely captured, killed, or otherwise. And Johnny's going to be staying with me for a while. At least until I have everything that I need. If you try to come for me, I will kill him. And then you will have no one. Afterwards, what's left? I'm going to kill you. I bet you will. All that talk about peace, I guess you didn't really mean it after all. Keep him here till I'm done. If he causes you any trouble, blow his brains out. Tony would leave the room as more guards would enter in, all their guns trained on Reed. If he so much as twitched, he would be pumped full of lead. For Sue, she had quick thinking. Her suit deployed almost instantly, even while the plane was being engulfed. Susan managed to armor up and pull the 2 pilots out to safety. Of course, being in the middle of the ocean, she had to drop them off somewhere quick. The fastest place she could go was a Coast Guard's post. After putting them down and flying off, she now found herself being swarmed by fighter jets, a privatized military, and the head flyer, Colonel James Rhodes. Rhodey, he never always saw eye to eye with Tony on everything. But in cases like this, for the best interests of the U.S. government and in helping of his close friend, for what he believed was truly something in peril, he did what he needed to do, as unfortunate as it was. However, his men would be in for a rude awakening, as a blur of blue and black and silver would fly past them, taking them out with ease and forcing them to eject. Whatever was going on, Susan had to get home and fast. As for Ben, he had been in the garage working when the building came under attack by extremist soldiers. He quickly donned his armor and engaged with them, and the strength of his Iron Buster proved to be superior, but being swarmed in numbers, as they began stealing tech and other things, the building's defensive measures were kicked in. Some of them were taken down while others managed to escape. With no choice, Ben would purposefully close the entrance to the garage, ready to take out as many as he could. A final stand if there ever was one. As for Johnny, he was now imprisoned. A specially made hovercraft, a helicarrier, one that was no longer in commission, but on the black market fetched a pretty penny. A floating fortress. Pepper was sitting in front of his cell. "So, you were never that interested in me, huh? I guess I really am a dumb kid." "It's not that. He's insane." "Who?" "Tony. He's, what, Stark?" "He's the one that's responsible. He's holding you hostage. Your friends, Dave, what?" "Tell me!" "He attacked your sister's plane." "No. I'm sorry, John. No. He did. You. Let me out of here. Where is he? I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. Let me out. I'm sorry. I didn't have. You had a choice. You led me into a trap. You let my sister get killed. Ben. Reed. You better hope. You better pray that he kills me. Because if I get out of here, I swear to God, I will blow you and everyone else on this plane straight to hell. Damn it. It took Susan almost 40 minutes to get back to the United States. By the time that she had arrived, she would see the disaster. Flames around the bottom of the Baxter building, police and fire trucks everywhere. Ben. Susan would storm in, flying past everyone and getting into the rubble. There she found the ripped and torn suit of the Iron Buster, and inside a battered and beaten Ben Grimm. Ben, have you heard from Johnny or Reed? Those bastards. They gave me hell. Reed still. The meeting. Reed had to think of something, but he didn't have many options. Thankfully, his communicating earpiece was still on. Susan would speak to it. He would be mixed with a flood of relief, but he couldn't react. He had 12 guns on him in that moment. Susan, using her advanced navigation, would assess the situation. She would fire off many pelts from a distance from her suit's gauntlet launcher. They would blast through the windows, shooting at the guards. Immediately as she rushed in, she would use her suit and her force fields to shield her husband. Upon doing so, she would step into action as she quickly took out the guards. turning back to him. Her face mask would lift as he kissed her, relieved to know that she was all right. Oh my God, Susan, I thought I lost you. I'm okay. Where's Johnny? He's taking Johnny hostage. On some hovercraft, I don't know what he's planning to do. Stark, he's lost it. He's completely lost his mind. He wants the arc reactor. My tech. I'm not going to let him have it. We need to go save Johnny. You're right. But we need to get back to the building. It's been almost completely destroyed. Not entirely. I always have some backups, just in case something like this ever happened. Are you serious? Yes. Also, do you have to carry me like this? Reed would say as he was scooped up and held in the arms of his wife as they flew. We don't have time for aesthetics, dear. My brother. You're right. He would get into contact with Ben, who, after being saved from the rubble, was trying to assess how bad the damage was. I'm getting the backup unit online now. We're going to get Johnny back. What about Tony? He's going to pay. I don't care about his delusions, but he messed with my family. I can't forgive that. Eventually, they would arrive with newly standard modeled suits. The Iron Man, the Iron Woman, and the Iron Thing. What's that? Susan says he was carrying a briefcase. It's a briefcase armor. I made it for in case of emergencies. It's one made tailored for Johnny. It won't have as much firepower as he's accustomed to, but it'll work in a pinch. I didn't have a chance to update the other modules or... Alright, I have the location of the hovercraft in question. It seems like they're heading towards Washington, D.C. Any question why they'd be going there? Tesseract. What? The Tesseract. He's going after the Tesseract. I thought that was just a myth, Susan would say. Not for him. And if he believes that it's there, then he has reason to think that it actually exists. And if it does, we can't let him get his hands on it. We'll be using some of your borrowed stealth technology. I'm going to try to triangulate for a way for us to stay undetected by the ship's radar. Once we're on, our first priority is going to be finding Johnny. Once we get him out, we'll take down Reed. Together. The hovercraft wasn't too far off from the distance of Washington. Tony wasn't one to do things by force, but it was always good to have chips on the table. Like Obadiah, who was fitted inside of the Ironmonger suit, made from the scraps left behind from Reed in his last departure from the desert. Thankfully, with what was stolen from the extremist cell that he had put together, he was able to get his hands on a defective arc reactor, reprogramming it for his own ends, although it was rather unstable. I can work out the kinks later. You know your job. Yeah. And Obi, be a good boy. I'd hate to think what would happen to your son if you didn't play the rules. Yeah. Don't look at me like that. You were going to double-cross me at some point anyway, right? You really thought I wasn't going to find those emails? Tony, it's not... When it's all said and done, I don't want to hear your excuse. You're going to do as I say, like a good little monkey, till I say stop. The Ironmonger would descend from the hovercraft, landing in the streets of Washington. This would attract the attention of a certain group. S.H.I.E.L.D. Tony was planning on this. S.H.I.E.L.D. likes to stay in hiding, but this is going to draw them out. Once it does, they'll lead me right back to the hen house, and I can steal the egg. The Ironmonger would start tearing through the streets, along with extremist soldiers behind him. However, before they could get too far, they would be intercepted. The Iron Thing. "I should have figured you'd survive," Obadiah said. "Huh. A big hunkin' suit of armor. Stealing my gimmick, huh? Just new and improved. We'll see about that." The two iron behemoths would engage with one another as Reed and Susan would descend onto the hovercraft. There were various soldiers for hire all around them. As they descended through the levels, Johnny unexpectedly would be freed, but it was by Pepper. He immediately raced towards the woman as he wrapped his hands around her throat. "They're alive! They're alive!" "What? They're alive! Your sister's alive!" "You're just lying to me. I know you are. They're just... Please, stop him!" He would drop Pepper from his arms. Was she telling the truth? He could hear commotion going on from up above. She even went to the trouble of bringing him a handgun. If he left her here, she'd probably have to bear the wrath of Tony. And maybe she deserved it. Come on! What? Shut up and come on! Pepper would follow behind Johnny as they shot their way through various guards at different posts, covering and staying on their tracks, but eventually being surrounded. Before they could be swarmed, however, two metallical blue suits would join in, force fields guarding both Johnny and Pepper as they took out the remaining guards on the floor. "Here!" Reed would kick the suitcase over to Johnny. As he immediately knew what to do, he would don on his suit, the Blue Flame. It was standard. It wasn't going to give him as much in terms of the firepower that he would need, but having something was better than nothing. As the three of them began to ascend upwards, Johnny would look back to Pepper. "I'll be right back." "Wait, Johnny, where are you?" He swooped her up in his arms before flying out. Tony's radars would go off. They were here, but one of them was leaving. After getting back onto the ground, Johnny would set Pepper away. "As far as I'm concerned, you didn't harm my family. Listen, Yeah, I know. Right now is not the time. Will I ever see you? Maybe." Johnny would immediately fly back to the hovercraft as Susan and Reed were already descending onto Tony's location. As the helicarrier loomed over Washington, the streets were now filled with combat. Ben holding his own against the extremist army as well as against the Ironmonger. Tony would turn as the doors were blasted open. Susan and Reed. Outside, fire jets would scramble to take on Johnny, who would use his suit to battle against them. The Battle of Washington would begin. "You're going to the SHIELD base, aren't you? That's where it is?" "Of course. I told you. It's my family's legacy." "Tony, this is ridiculous. You've tried to take out my family. You should have known how this was going to end." "Yeah, I did." Tony would be wearing a green cloak. Throwing up its hood, they thought that he didn't have any way of protecting himself, but they would immediately be repelled as they turned to see, "Is that a prototype armor of yours?" "Yeah, but I was able to make some upgrades. You know, power isn't hard to find. Green glowing symbols would appear all on the armor. I even went through the trouble of learning some magic. Just for you. Bolts of green energy would shoot at both Reed and Susan, as the arc reactor embedded in the suit's chest would turn from a bright and hopeful white to a dark and sinister green. A specially made armor for Tony, the infusion of science and magic all together. The helicarrier would become a battleground, as Reed and Susan would battle against Tony. A clash of wills, a clash of spirit. The people down below would begin evacuating, as a director with an eye patch watched from a distance. Sir, we're beginning the evacuation. What do you want us to do? And just hold on to that order, Marie. I want to see how this plays out. On the ground, the Ironmonger and the Iron Thing had reached almost a stalemate in their fight. The mask had come off and Obadiah was now revealed. Camera phones catching his face only would begin to plummet the reputation of Stark and Stark Industries. So, Stark did have a hand in this, huh, Obadiah? My son. What? It was my son. I had to protect him. You'd go this far. You do what you can for family. I hear that. But you know I gotta stop you. Bring it. It's clobbering time. Meanwhile, the rogue jets would be shot out of the sky, being knocked into areas where they would do the least amount of damage, as Johnny would peel through them with ease. He could see the torrent of green energy coming from the windows of the used helicarrier. As he went flying towards it, he would go full throttle as he tackled Tony as he slammed through the window. The moment that they flew out, they would begin their descent as they fell to the grounds below. The Ironmonger had been defeated, and Ben was on his way. Because Johnny's suit wasn't as powerful, he was knocked back with ease by Tony. But before he had a chance on the counterfire, he found himself getting hip-checked by Ben, knocked into a building that fell upon him, as Reed and Susan would follow, the crowd beginning to cheer as the four of them were now united. From out of the rubble, the suit had been badly damaged. It was still in its prototype stage, and Tony hadn't had the chance to fully equip it to its extent, and his mask had been cracked. The people saw for themselves what had happened. It was Tony Stark, in all of his shame. The authorities were now beginning to swoop in. As the picture came to light, it was made clear Tony Stark had gone rogue. Stocks had plummeted to absolute zero. Contracts were terminated. In that moment, Tony Stark was no longer the patriot. He was the enemy. And he was set to be brought in. It's over, Tony. You've got nowhere else to run. You're surrounded. That's what you think. A large shield would form around him. Torrents of energy leaving his body. What the hell is he doing? Johnny would ask. Some form of magic, I guess. Are you serious? Magic? You're telling me Tony Stark became a warlock? It doesn't matter what he's become, Reed said. What matters is that we stop him. All of them would raise their hands, firing off their repulsor rays at full throttle, containing the energy wave coming from Tony in that moment. He's going to try to detonate himself all across the area. We need to hold it by any means. Their suits will be pushed to their highest extent, as all of them fired at full power, keeping Tony and his contained destructive energy in one spot. They held their positions just long enough, outlasting the would-be sorcerer. A large explosion would occur in the center of downtown Washington. In the midst of the explosion, shards of armor would be scattered everywhere. From out of the dust and the rubble, a severely burnt Tony Stark would lunge at Reed, his hand sparking with energy as he attempted to rip at the chest of the armor plate. But one fire of the repulsor rays blasting him in his face, leaving him permanently disfigured as he fell backwards. He would be pinned to the ground, specially made cuffs holding him from escaping. The authorities would arrive shortly after, agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with specially modified weapons and a holding cell, keeping him from getting free. The crowds and the people would cheer and applause. As for them, their judgment was correct, and they had been vindicated. In the end, good triumphed. What followed can only be described as bedlam and chaos. Disgraced patriot Tony Stark taken into custody. Stark Industries have officially gone under. Stark Towers sold. Stocks, any assets in the Stark name, seized by federal custody. The Stark name was now officially tarnished. It meant nothing. A legacy of patriotism disgraced. Many outlets calling for the shame of the Stark heir, wondering how his father would feel, learning how his son turned out. As for the Richards family, their popularity will only continue to grow. The people seeing their heroes in action, fighting even under the darkest of circumstances. For Reed, though, he didn't see this as a real victory, only as a shame. In the end, Tony was a good mind, corrupted, but for what he could have done, he could have accomplished so much more. But maybe one day he'd find his redemption. Tony was escorted to where he was going to be spending his holding cell. But before he could arrive, mysteriously enough, a group of people would free him. A familiar voice speaking in the back of the van. Tony. Rhodey. Yeah. You haven't abandoned me. Look, I think what you did was pretty messed up. I don't know what you've got going on. I don't know if I even understand myself. Tony could see the tint of green in his friend's eyes. It worked. Tony knew from the very beginning that what he was doing, it was going to cause a ripple effect. There were some people that he wanted to be loyal to him, and he didn't want it questioned, so, dabbling in the arcane arts, it shows you a thing or two about messing with someone's subconscious, eroding their will so that they can stand beside you. He wished he could have done the same to Pepper, but in the end, however fleeting of a romance they could have had, she was only going to be a liability, She was never a factor in their bigger plans anyway. I'm glad you came. I needed you. The two of them would escape, before long arriving in Latveria, a castle that sat on top of the countryside, fully furnished for their own devices. Damn, you're going full gothic, aren't you? It's an acquired taste. So what? You used what was left of your family fortune and you bought this. This place is in the middle of nowhere. No one cares about it. It serves many purposes, among them granting me diplomatic immunity. They won't come for us here. Latveria is going to be the foundation. Foundation for what? A new world. A world under doom. Doom? What do you mean by that? Doom to all of those who oppose me. And you. I need you, Rhodes. You will be the hammer. You will carry out my will. You are my destroyer, my bringer of war, my trusted war machine. Back in New York, under the renovated Baxter Building, the doors would open as Reed, Susan, Johnny, and Ben would enter into the lobby of their home. It had taken some time, but the renovations were coming along, and that big ugly building known as Stark Towers was being demolished, so that was also a plus. But as they stepped all the way in, someone was waiting for them. There was a man dressed in black, an eye patch covering his left eye, sitting comfortably, enjoying a cup of tea. I figured it'd take you long enough to get here. As if gamma accidents, gods from another world, soldiers frozen in time, and mad magical scientists wasn't enough. Now I get looped into the fact of our first family of heroes, all with shiny new toys, wondering if they'll play well with others. And who are you? Reed would ask, defensive with the others. Agent Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, it's not unwelcomed, your visit, though it's a bit of a surprise. I tend to do that. What do you want with us? Susan would ask. You four are pretty extraordinary. Fantastic, even. But there's a greater world out there. You just don't know about it yet. Right now, that world could really lose your help. What are we talking about? Johnny would ask. Nick would simply smile. I want to talk to you four about the Avengers Initiative. This concludes What If Season 1, Episode 2, What If Reed Richards was Iron Man? As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with PowerCore Presents Marvel's What If Season 1, Episode 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off.